Hello and welcome to the Comedian's Paradise. This is the podcast where we speak to comedians, comedy promoters, podcasters, people from across the comedy world that are living the comedy life on their unique terms. Now today we have a guy all the way from Wales. His name is Kris Davies. He is a gangster comedian all the way in Wales. He is conquering so many shows. He promotes shows in Wales. He's already told me he even can do comedy in Welsh. He's even done comedy for Druids, and he's an honorary Druid. So if you hecklers, if you mess with him, he'll do magic on you. Please welcome the brilliant Kris Davies.
Hello, how are we doing? All right?
Not too bad, not too bad. Is any of what I said false?
No, it's not false. I haven't learned magic as yet. I'm still waiting to learn that. But everything else you said is bang on. I'm definitely a gangster comedian, and yeah, and the Welsh mafia and all that. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. And you can do comedy in Welsh?
Yeah. Well, essentially, I had nothing to do in lockdown, and then my job paid for me to learn Welsh. I'm a youth worker in the day. So instead of using it for my job, I used it for comedy, and I started doing some Welsh gigs as well. Yeah, so it's gone through. I did the last 2 weeks ago. I did the I Said Fund. The I Said that is our national Welsh cultural festival. Happens every year. It's a big deal for Welsh speakers and things like that. So yeah, it was good. I was on the learner stage. I was on with Hughie Christian McLean. And it was very good. It was good fun. The only downside was I had some notes to sort of prompt myself. I had an ocular migraine just before I went on, so I couldn't see anybody's faces, and I couldn't see my notes. But luckily, I'd rehearsed it enough that I remembered it, so I was okay. But yeah, been a bit mad. I did one before, and it's part of my set now because it's true. I was telling a joke, and I said my and that means my dog. It actually sounded like I said mamgi, which means my nan. So the joke is about my dog trying to have sex with a horse on a family camping trip. Unfortunately, the audience thought I was telling a joke about my nan trying to have sex with a horse. And because I wondered when I was telling it why I was getting such an odd response. And then the guy after, he's like, "Oh, Kris, you were saying a joke about camping." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "You're talking about your dog or your nan?" I was like, "Oh, my dog." Like, but yeah, so yeah. But he said, yeah, so that's part of my set now.
So is doing comedy in Welsh like is it same set of punchline or is it a lot longer? Because I heard.
Oh, the sentence structure is a bit different, and sometimes, like in the I said, but I'll still do the punchline in English because it's just the way that the structure of the sentence, so it wouldn't really work in Welsh, if you know what I mean. And because my Welsh vocabulary is a bit basic, it's easier to do uh, the punchline sometimes in English. If I can do the whole thing in Welsh, I will. But if I just can't explain it enough, I'll do that. And the crowd in the I said they were very very accommodating of that, and they were good. I explained to them at the beginning they've only been learning really for like a year, and they're really nice, really supportive crowd. It was good fun. So yeah, I did a song in Welsh as well to do a bit of music. So because I started doing that, so it's easier to commit the set to memory if I kind of sing it, and then I realized, oh well, I can just put this in a song. So that was interesting to do. So I did that as well, and I think I drove everyone berserk just in the house. The thing is, it's pronunciation, and I'd get this halfway through the song and always mispronounce. I have to start again, and it was just driving, including the neighbours. It was just like, "Shut up!" I was never finishing the song, and then I was screaming because I just couldn't get past it. But luckily, yeah, it all went really well. It was a nice weekend. So yeah.
I don't really know much about Wales. I've only been a couple of times to Wales. I've never gigged there, never performed there. All I know is I watched Big Brother with Imogen Thomas and some other guy in Big Brother, I know speaking in Welsh, and I've watched Torchwood. That's all I know about Wales, and I know that your rugby team competes very well with the English. And one of my friends says that him and his mates went over to Cardiff, really loud and boisterous, and then the
Mm.
bouncer took him away because he was in a dodgy pub, and some of them hated the English.
Okay, well, the rugby culture is like match day in Cardiff. There's nothing like it because the stadium is right in the middle of the city. Everything is just all geared about the match. My wife is English, and she thought naively that when the match was on, she could go shopping in Cardiff, and didn't realise that everybody's drunk. That you're stepping over people to get into. It's just the whole city is there on the pitch for the rugby. And we're not anti-English during the rugby or anything like that. Everything. I mean, I went to a match between England and Wales, and it was great fun. It was banter. We were sat with the English fans. It's lovely. The only ever negative experience I've had was England versus Wales in the football, but that wasn't because of England and Wales. That was because you had Swansea and Cardiff fans in the same stadium,
Ah,
and that was a nasty atmosphere. I didn't enjoy that, but yeah, on the whole, everything's fine really. And yeah, if some people want to be like that, but there's a minority. Essentially, the more people that are there to have a laugh with and have a drink with, everybody's fine. It's a nice experience, I think.
so you said Swansea and Cardiff. Is there a bit of a beef like there is with Glasgow and Edinburgh?
Yeah, massive. Football wise, yeah, there's always that they're the two at loggerhead team that if it is a derby, then it's pretty tasty between the two towns, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. What that about?
I think there's always been a rivalry, really. I think that Swansea kind of is like the gateway to the West, um, and and all that type of stuff. That's and then Cardiff is kind of Wenglish, it's kind of anglicised. It's very much the English um, influence is kind of there. Not so much now. We're getting more. It's more cultural now in Cardiff, and it's very very Welsh in its heritage. But I think it's just wrongly seen that way. That it's more anglicised. Um, it's more influenced by England, and in that way, there's kind of an animosity there. There's always the thing that perhaps Swansea should have been the capital, but then people up in North Wales would argue that somewhere up there should have been the capital. There's always the thing, and I think it's part of Welsh culture as well, going down to valleys, having beef with other valleys and things like that. Really, I think it's just football is just the thing that brings that out in them. Because rugby, it doesn't happen. Rugby's fine, but the football, yeah, it does. Yeah.
Football's very tribal. It's incredibly tribal. My God. And one thing I have noticed is that in like Scotland or Ireland, they've not as kept up with the Gaelic speech as much as Wales has.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for I can't really speak for Scottish, for Gaelic kind of thing, but for Welsh people, um, we were like Welsh was banned. The English tried to stop us speaking Welsh, and that's why it's it's more spoken in North Wales now than South. But I think as time has gone on, like now, like I work for local authority in the day, so they've had funding to try and get as many people speaking Welsh as possible, so we can have a bilingual kind of service and an existence and things. And I think now more people are getting switched back onto it, and it's easier now. You've got Duolingo, you've got other ways you can learn now. It's a lot more accessible. Um, but I think it's our mentality really that it's ours, and we tried to take it away from us, so we're trying to keep it. But then there's other people in Wales who don't really care. They just crack on speaking English, and they've got no interest in it. But I definitely think that it's rising the number of people who want to speak Welsh now, and I've really enjoyed it because I never bothered before. I hated learning languages in school. I hated school, but through lockdown, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And be able to do gigs now is great, and it's a bit more frightening because it's a bit more nerve wracking because you don't know if you're saying things the right way or whatever. So you don't know if it's going to land. It's a real challenging thing to do. Um, and when it goes well and when they laugh and they get it, it's like, oh, thank God, it's another thing to do. So yeah, it's interesting. But I think that we're very kind of passionate about our history, really. So yeah, it's a part of our identity, and we want to push it forward. Really.
It's and because of that sort of passion identity, does that must give, because it's such a specialized gig when you do it in that must, does it in some ways mean that you get paid more than, or it's easy to get audiences as well for that sort of
Well,
gig than
it's harder. You don't get as many people in the gigs down south, from my experience, but the pool of people that speak Welsh is smaller, so opportunities are a bit more in your grasp than they are. So like with S4C, which is our Welsh speaking channel, I pitched an idea to BBC Wales about something, English speaking BBC Wales, and I didn't hear back from them for ages. I pitched an idea to S4C. I had a meeting with the commissioning officer that afternoon. It's because there's less people, and they're really trying to get young people involved now. If we get young people speaking Welsh and regenerate that, then it just increases the language and what they can show and all that type of stuff. So in certain cases, speaking Welsh opens doors that wouldn't be open to you otherwise.
But yeah, it gives you more opportunities, because I spoke to a comedian in India, and he's Bengali, and he's got a massive following, like 200,000 Bengali people supporting him. But the biggest opportunities for comedy in India, English and Hindi. But
Yeah.
and he's in a position where he's deciding, does he just focus on a Bengali or does he focus on Hindi?
Yeah. Yeah, it is that. I mean, I'm nowhere near. I got some friends who are first language Welsh, and watching them gig in Welsh is a completely different thing to watching me gig. Watching me gig in Welsh is like a foul-mouthed toddler making his way through it, broken speech. But the S4C are really good. I think there's been some of my friends have been on S4C. They've done comedy, stand-up comedy, and things. There is a scene there that's growing. But the biggest, is obviously speaking in English. It's just about looking for the opportunities and narrowing the pool, because obviously the age I am, the gender I am, all that type of stuff. We're so heavy with white blokes because we're all talking about similar things. It's such a difficult demographic to be in. You got to look for other ways to try and make yourself different, because you know that just by going around gigs, it's very different. I think that's one of the hardest things in comedy for anybody, really, is to try and be original. And when you've got loads of other people who are very similar to yourself, you're always going to have some sort of crossover. So to try and make yourself as individual as possible, I think is really difficult. So something like a different language, obviously, a different culture, you've got different things to talk about. It's more interesting for the audience as well. So it should always be explored.
But there is a flip side to that, in that when you are different and you do stand out, you're going to get picked on more. You're going to get a lot of people, a lot of comedians are very fixated on like the George Carlin, you see the mock the week kind of comedy. And with acts that are occasionally a bit mad, a bit wild, and do things that are completely off color, they do try and, I've had it myself. I'm a character act. I play Zorro. So you have a lot of people that are a bit against that, because it's against what their view of comedy is. And they feel safer doing comedy than as they've seen it.
Yeah.
And one of the things as well, in certain gigs like Comedy Store gong shows, a lot of big clubs in London have gong shows to get people in. And it tends to suit a certain style of comic. And I haven't seen many alternative comedians get through that sort of show.
I totally agree with you, and it is a bit like that. But like looking at it from a purely a promoter point of view, because like I've got two new material and then one professional, like in a theatre. When I do that theatre gig, I want to make each act as different as possible for the audience, because it's just boring if everybody's saying, if everyone's very good, that's one thing. But if everybody's kind of talking around the same sort of thing, it does kind of get a bit dull. And I think that I think that you'll always have people who feel threatened by people who are different or coming from a different area, or think that people are getting a leg up for being different. But I think that's an ignorant view, because if you were in a minority or you're from a different background and you're trying to get into a scene that's so densely populated with stuff, you've got to be excellent to kind of get through that, you know. And whoever you are, you've got to have resilience to be a comedian, because you just, I mean, you know, like most people, our worst critics are ourselves. We do one little thing that maybe the audience haven't known about, and you just beat yourself up all the way home in the car about. But then when you've got other people on top of you trying to be pushy with you and things like that as well, it's a tough gig. But purely from a promoter point of view, I'd like to have as varied people as possible. Like if I got someone like yourself, a character act, that's brilliant. I don't want another character act that night.
Yeah.
Because I want that person to stand out. And I'll have someone different. And I'd like to have that variation because it's fun for the audience. It really hypes them up. Like you've got a character act in Wales called Welsh Jesus. And yeah, it's as funny as it sounds. He's great. He's great. He really ramps the audience up, and he really pops, and it makes them. It gives the energy to the night. Like where you have, like I notice it sometimes where I do a bit of music. It's just something different. It kind of changes. It makes people pay attention. So to have a varied bill of comedians, it's great. If everybody is the same, coming from the same background, talking about the same thing, it's just like, oh, you know, you want it to be like Oatmeal Creek. You want it to have different flavors, different things going on. You know, it's more exciting for everybody.
But if you are going to be different, do something about that, you better be good, and you better have thick skin to deal with all the crap that comes through it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it takes a lot of guts, really. Comedy in itself, on its own, is a big challenge. But if you believe in, like, if you believe in Zorro and you believe in that character, then yeah, just go for it, you know, and keep going for it, and just find the fun within. Because you know, as long as you're enjoying it, then I think one of the other hardest things to do is to appreciate where we are. Because that's my wife always says to me, you're always concerned about the next thing. It's like, well, just appreciate where you are right now. You're having fun, you're enjoying it. Yeah, well, why worry about anything else? And just concentrate on keeping enjoying it, and then the development will come. You know, but I think I've never done a character act, and the people I've seen doing character acts, I think it does take a lot of guts. You're immediately setting yourself up before you've opened your mouth.
And you often hurt your own voice as well.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, it would be. I don't know if I'd like to try it. I don't know what character I'd do. I don't know. But I got respect to it anyway. Definitely, I think it takes guts to do, and it can really, like I said, with our one, with our Welsh Jesus, it does. It makes the audience pop. It's something different, and it gets people going. You know, and you've got to kind of, if the audience responds in a positive way, you're already ahead because they've bought into your character. So you can play with that. You can do crowd work with that. You can get them doing all different things because it's a novelty. Whereas when you're just you've got to work to get that response. You know what I mean? So when it works, I think it can work brilliantly.
It's there's a lot of have you looked at the posts on the Edinburgh Fringe forum and some of the things that have been going at the moment? Because there's a comedian who won the Dave Joke of the Fringe, and already comedians are having a go at her, and it's a bit like, bloody hell, it's nothing. Like it's let her do her thing. She even says it's not that big a. It's just a silly little. It gives a award that gives a bit of publicity. It's not a big deal.
This is it. I think that we're such a, you know, let's be honest, the industry is made up of all of us wanting to push ourselves and things to be all about us. And in doing that, it's really easy to get wrapped up in what everybody else is doing. And then it's even easier then from that way to start getting jealous and start going down the bitter drive. It doesn't surprise me. I think it would be more surprising if everybody going, oh, well done, awesome, good for you. But no one does. That's crap. And you know, we're crap at that. We're crap at being supportive. I think the first response is to try and tear something down because it's not us. And I think that's the problem with a lot of it.
Are we comedians too different to what you encounter in your other job in terms of their characters? Because working hospitality, I've seen a lot of traits that are very similar in comedians to people in hospitality.
Well, I've been a youth worker for 20 years now, and I work in predominantly in things like sexual health and some heavy stuff, like the young people being groomed and things like that. So yeah, so kind of heavy stuff. But to do that job, you've got to have a sense of humor. You've got to be able to get on with it. You can't be overcome with, because I hear some horrific stuff, but I also do some great stuff. Like I spend a lot of time this summer kayaking and canoeing with young people, and all that kind of stuff. You know, some of my friends say I haven't really got a job because they're working on site, and I'm on a nice reservoir enjoying the stuff. You know, um, but the type of people that are able to do that type of stuff, I've got a different way of looking at life that enables them to cope with some of the stuff they hear. So yeah, I do see a lot of traits, a lot of ways of making something that's bad, kind of dealing with it through humor and that type of thing. And also with like, I'm not just staff, with the young people we work with, enabling them to try and look at things in a different way as well. Because I think as soon as you can change the narrative of something to make it, you can kind of deal with it. You're giving power to the person who's the survivor of it or whatever. You know what I mean? Um, but I also have, because of the job we do encounter people who've got maybe like a different view of the world. And you think, my God, you'd never, they say stuff we shouldn't say, and you think, you'd never get away with that to a comedian. You know, you'd be cancelled straight away, that kind of thing. But I think I get a lot of inspiration from my job because it's a bit of a different job. You know, like I spend a lot of time in schools teaching teenagers how to put condoms on rubber willies. That's part of the stuff I do. Yeah. We also drive around in a minibus doing, it's like a mobile sexual health van. So essentially, we're driving around places distributing condoms. There's lots of different things that I do that are quite bizarre that I can draw comedy from as well, just because of the situation. You know, not punching down, just me basically, because I mean, can you imagine being my kids? So I'm the guy that comes down to school with condoms, and I work in the schools that my kids are in, you know, and it's just, that's the threat. It's like, you know, you've got to behave, otherwise I'll be doing sexual health lessons for you in your class, you know, and I've never had a day's trouble with it, you know, never actually done that, and I wouldn't, but yeah, so yeah, but I think there's loads of characters, especially in the care industry, because of some of the stuff you've got to deal with. Sometimes the only way you can deal with it is to use humor with it, you know?
Is do a lot of people say that comedians have something wrong with them, and in some ways we're a sad clown. We let out a lot of our trauma on stage in some way or another.
Yeah. Well, all of my stuff that I talk about has happened to me. I obviously embellish some stuff and things, but yeah, and a lot of it is, um, you know, stuff that I've maybe struggled with or have been poignant because it hurt me in a way. Like I do, my dad ran off with another woman before my birthday when I was 15, 16, something like that. And it'd been going on for ages and we didn't know. We basically been having an affair for 2 years. We quickly moved out. And the only way we kind of knew something was up was because he was taking things with him every time he left, and he stole all the spoons. It's really bizarre. But so I use that now. I use that because it's such a bizarre thing. I do a song about it called Where's All the Spoons? And just it's obviously it was painful for me at the time, but now it's because it's real and it's quite different. So yeah, it's good to use, you know, and it kind of yeah, it does help in a way. And I think I always look for stuff that has happened to me because I think that's a safe area as well, is where you were the butt of the joke and it's happened to you and you can make fun of it. Then that's better for the audience. You're not making fun of anybody else. You were putting yourself as the fall guy and inviting everybody to laugh with you. You know, and I think that it does help therapeutically, but also help anyway because you're not attacking anybody to do so.
Yeah. If would you recommend stand-up comedy to your kids? because I spoke to another comic and he says no, because like all the trauma and all like the hard things you have to go to get through with it, it's nothing. He wouldn't suggest it. He would say like do something else, like do be an accountant or get a good job or something. He definitely wouldn't recommend stand up.
No, with my kids, no, I don't, I wouldn't. Definitely not my daughter. I just don't think she would enjoy it at all. My son possibly because he loves making people laugh, but then he gets embarrassed if I just talk to him in public. So I don't know if he's willing to if he's willing to embarrass himself in front of strangers. I don't know, but yeah, looking at the kind of mental health side of things, it's not someone I would wish on somebody else. I feel like I have to do it because I have to do something creative, otherwise I go nuts. I've got to do something. And stand-up comedy is the most instant thing because I was in a band when I was a teenager, and that was fun, but it didn't kind of work out. Then I tried doing screenplays. I was writing screenplays for TV, but that process is long, and I'm dyslexic as well, so it's really difficult, especially with my wife. I have to correct my spelling. Um, but it was such a long process to do and then have the feedback. And I was just like, well, what can I do this instant? And then, of course, with comedy, because you think of it, you do it, you get your response from the audience, and you can work at it. Um, and I don't think there's anything that comes close to being as quick and as instant creatively because you can just do it, you know. And even if you're not on TV, you're not doing anything, you can still go to an open mic night and do it. It's just accessible. It's right there for you, you know. And I don't think that anything will replace that. Really. But that's me. I don't think my kids are like that. They've got other avenues that they get as much enjoyment out of with less pain.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's if would you do you think you would have always been a comedian? Do you think this is like built in your blood? Like there was things when you were younger that led you to be the comedian you are now?
I think I was always the dickhead of the group that did stupid things, not necessarily deliberately to be funny, but I'd always end up being the one who was laughed at in a sense because of the stupid things I've done. But yeah, I think so. I think that I wanted to be a musician. That's what I wanted to do, and it didn't happen. And when I look back now, it's so obvious that it wouldn't, but I was convinced that it would. I was convinced I was the next generation Kurt Cobain, but I was absolutely not. Um, but I just think, yeah, I think if I look back now, I can just see the road to it definitely, and I think yeah, because I really enjoyed making people laugh. I didn't necessarily think I was particularly funny. My close friends make fun of me now. They say, well, you're not even the funniest out of us. That's how supportive they are. But yeah, I think I was always going to end up doing this. Definitely. I mean, just the way that my life is now, it just is because that's what I want to do.
It is funny, isn't it? I agree. I've had a similar thing as well because a lot of the funniest people I know are actually my Asian relatives, and it's funny, they are a lot funnier than me, but they've never decided to do stand up. If they wanted to, they would, yeah, they would be incredible at it, but they never bothered to do it. And I think a lot of comedians find that they have friends that are just as funny or even funnier than them, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah, my friends, I'm conscious and quiet around them because I'm just sitting there listening to them. They just make me laugh the way that they talk, the things that they say, everything. I love being around them. Just the kind of banter and the way we relate to each other. My close friends, you know, and yeah, absolutely. But like about conversations, it's a different thing, isn't it? Being funny with your friends and then getting up on stage and being funny to strangers because my friends, we all know each other, and that's you're already away there, aren't you? You know how to make fun of someone, you know how far you can go, or it's all laid out for you. But when you've got a room full of strangers, you don't know any of those things. That's another challenge. That's a different thing, isn't it? You know. So, but yeah, I'm certainly not the funniest out of my friends, but I don't care.
Yeah, they'd not get off on stage. It's what, yeah, it's incredible. Comedy is an amazing thing. There's all sorts of things. You never know what's going to happen. I had a mad moment at the Fringe a couple of days ago. I said to these bunch of drunks, so I was dressed in as Zorro, right? And they really wanted to go because I was dressed as Zorro, and they thought it was a bit of, they were saying, "You're Zorro." I said, "Yes, senor, I am. Uh, would you like to come and join in? It's a stock show, and you'll get to join in a bit." And then they said, "Yeah," and then they go and join in it, and they really join in. And my friend who was running the show completely lost it. And no, he dealt with it well. They were
Yeah.
completely gone. He dealt with it very well. He got rid of them. But
Right.
I think the thing that was, yeah, but they went to him and told them I said that they could heckle when I said no, they could join in and get involved a bit. And then and then they got into a whole period where someone told another person about it, and they mistook it and said, "I heard that you told someone to heckle," and then yeah, one of the things that can be a bit iffy is comedians will twist what you say to make you look a certain way to.
Yeah.
Hey, it happens. I mean, it happens.
How do you deal with hecklers then when you dress as Zorro? Do you have different comebacks to it, or what do you do? You just threaten them with a sword?
I do run a hecklers night, which is a lot of fun. And like, if you, yeah, I recommend anyone run it because it's a hilarious show. It's unpredictable. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's difficult because as me, maybe I could, if I'm in a sharp mindset, I'll think of a comeback. But then I've got to think myself and then the character. So it's a bit slower than it would be. I don't. If someone says the same insult again, they often get the same insults. So if
Yeah.
someone repeats the same insults, I adjust to it. So if
Yeah.
someone says, "Oh, I'm weird" or something, and I get that occasionally, I just
Okay.
say, "A wolf doesn't care about the opinion of sheep," or I say something like, "I guess I got to stop hanging around you." Like I get a lot of the same insults. I think we all do that. Based on a look, you're going to get the same insults.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. It's a different challenge, isn't it? Being a character act, as you said, you can't really respond as yourself. You got to, because if you do, you're kind of breaking character and you lose it. Then so they keep the character up. Yeah, another challenge. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we often get the same insults, don't we? With me and you, we'll get certain insults. If we go enough gigs, the insults are going to be the same.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Do you run any roast battles in Wales? Because it's a big thing.
No, it was one like I live in a place called Bridgend, which is in between Cardiff and Swansea, and it's kind of a county, and at the centre of it is a town. And I've been trying for ages to get gigs to work in here because a lot of the people complain, oh, there's nothing here. So I put gigs on, and I get really good people to play, and then no one turns up. So it's annoying. So I found this pub, and they wanted to do a comedy night, and I thought, okay, I'll do it. I'll close it, and we'll see if it works. Um, and then we were thinking about doing a roast battle if there's a rowdy crowd. And then I got to thinking about it afterwards. And I thought, no, because it would just be horrific. And, I'll tell you, the opening act went on, and then a woman stood up and then just collapsed. And no one did anything about it. I went to her husband. She went, yeah, she'll get up in a minute. And then she got up and sat back down, and everyone just carried on as if nothing had happened. Okay. And then when I was on, a bloke was chucked out because his partner was giving him his birthday present. I don't know how much we can say. Am I allowed to swear? She's basically sucking him off. That's how rough this place was. And it was brightly lit. It was like a harvester, that kind of vibe. And so, yeah, we were thinking of doing a roast battle, but I thought, no, it would get so rowdy and so mental in there. It would just spill over. There are roast battles here, so I am interested in putting one on, but that's the closest I've come to it, and then immediately gone, no. It was just nuts. Yeah.
It is entertaining, though, I have to say. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I want to do one. We were going to do one before, I think before COVID, and then obviously that got sidelined. Um, yeah, they're interesting nights, and I think it's good. And there's like I've got a group of comedians that I'm quite close with as well. I think we could have a good roast battle because we know a lot about each other, but we know each other personally, so it wouldn't get stupid. You know what I mean? It would be good. It could be very quite insulting, but in a good way. Like when they had it on TV, I think they was it Bobby Mair and Harriet Kemsley did a roast battle, and they're a couple, so it got really kind of personal but funny, you know. And I love that. I think that if you've got a good relationship with someone you can push, I think you can get a lot of laughs out of that. Yeah.
I loved how she kept on saying to him, "I love you," after each joke. He said, "Just get on with the joke."
That's right. Yeah. He was really good. I was supposed to support him, Bobby, this weekend coming, but he's not doing it now in Cornwall. I'm done in Cornwall. Yeah, I've actually supported both of them in Torquay before COVID. They were both on, and it was great. It was lovely seeing them. Yeah, but I really enjoyed the roast battle. I thought it was great, really good dynamic.
With do you gig much? So you've been in the Fringe before, right? And you've gigged in different parts of the UK.
Yeah, I haven't been to Edinburgh yet. I kind of want to make sure I've got a show first. I have been able to go up there, but I just haven't. I thought I want to go up there with some complete. But I do gig outside of Wales a bit. Yeah. I think the furthest I've been up is Derby. Done a couple of things in Derby, Newcastle and the Line, and then all the way down the other end, then Cornwall and Torquay, all over. I've got a van, basically, so I'll just drive, and then if it's too long, I'll clip in the back of the van.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So it's fine. So yeah, and I like gigging outside of Wales and then coming back because, you know, being Welsh and gigging in Wales, there's a lot of not in jokes, but a lot of local references you can make and stuff. And then you kind of get into a bit of a comfort zone. And then as soon as you're outside of Wales, it's like, oh, hang on, no, that won't work. How am I going to say that? And it's a bit more of a challenge then to try and get your jokes over. Like the first time I gigged in London, I was so naive and did a lot of Welsh references, and no one really understood, and no one really gave a toss about either. You know what I mean? So it was a bit of an eye opener, but a good experience on the whole because it's like, right, okay. But I was just totally naive about it because obviously there's so much going on in London. So when you get a gig there, you've got to really kind of hammer it, you know, nail it essentially, rather than just go, just do this, it'll be fine as well. No,
Yeah. We often think that things we know that everyone knows.
Yeah, and that's totally on me. I mean, I just assume that people. I mean, do you know Port Talbot?
No, what's that?
Exactly. So Port Talbot is a place that everybody knows around here because it's in between. It's on the way to Swansea, and it's a massive steelwork in the town. Okay. And in the night, it looks like Blade Runner. It's huge, and it's the M4 goes past it. So everybody in Wales knows it when they go on holiday to West Wales because the smell of the steelwork is horrific. It just comes into the car, and you know you're going past Port Talbot. So obviously, anyone who's in the south or west of Wales, you can make any joke or make fun of Port Talbot, and everybody will know it and instantly laugh because it's Port Talbot. But I thought because of the company that owns it called Tartar Steel, and it was on the news quite a lot because of redundancies and stuff. So I wrongly assumed that people in London would be aware of that, and they weren't. They'd never clue what I was talking about. But you know, that's coming from a town going to like a mega city and not really doing your homework essentially. So yeah.
That's an interesting point. I don't know. The dog's not happy. Dog, how are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, but right, calm down. For my old animal. Yeah, but that's the thing. Because I think I'm in London next month, so it's good to have the challenge again of trying. Because you can talk about, obviously, you can talk about being Welsh and being from Wales and different things in Wales, but you've got to explain it rather than assume it. I think that's the difference. Let people into that, and you know, I'm not gonna because the Port Talbot joke. as I said, it's a comfort zone. I know I could say it around there and we get a laugh because everybody knows Port Talbot, but it's not. It's usually a segue to something else. It's not worth me explaining Port Talbot because it's not going to have the payoff. So it's good then to look at your set and just cut out all the kind of what you would maybe say is an easy joke and just go for the well-crafted stuff, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Now, you said, but one thing that you said that was I found really interesting is you said Wales is very each part of Wales is almost like a different comedy scene, and you've got to become like a different act for each part.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you play the gig, like Valley gigs, you know, if it's like a rugby club on a Saturday night, you know that's going to be a rowdy gig. You know, you could potentially have hecklers, but it won't be angry, horrible. It'll be people just getting involved, and you've got to open yourself to the fact that you're going to have that type of thing. Whereas then you play like West Wales, they're very grateful. They're sitting there, listen, and they'll get involved. And it'll be a bit more of a chilled vibe about it. But then Cardiff again, it is like a different vibe again, you know. And it does, and it can change between within a matter of miles because there's little microcosms of communities everywhere. There's the dog, and everybody's got you know, different ways of looking at things, and I think that's why the Welsh is quite good because you can double up and have different experiences everywhere you play, and it does. If you've got stuff that works in all these environments, then you know you've got stuff that will work probably pretty much anywhere, really, and that's good. It's a good training ground, I think. And there's lots of new material nights down here. There's loads of places to get gigs and get on. You can really, you know, you can really get a home yourself. And just enjoy comedy because it's a nice community of people and everyone is looking for new people to bring through their nights and things, and it's supportive. Car shares are always fun, you know. I think it's a lovely place to gig, really. It's a nice vibe.
What are some like good comedy clubs or good like with each scene? Each person I've spoken to, there's always people that they really sort of pioneer, like great comedy clubs, great people. Who are like people in the Welsh scene that you really admire that think is brilliant? And what are comedy clubs that you think people should check out other than your own?
I think anyone would say, well, there's a few there's Noel James who's been going for a long time, and he was on Britain's Got Talent a couple of years back. He did really well. He's kind of like a stalwart of the scene, and you watch him, and you can just completely just tear a room apart. It's something to behold to watch him. He gigs in Wales, outside of Wales. He does Welsh language gigs, everything. And he's just, you say he's a genius really to watch him. He's absolutely brilliant. We've then got our own import, Ignacio Lopez, he's in the Fringe at the minute. He's obviously Spanish but lives in Swansea, so he's joked a lot about the kind of clash of cultures and things like that. We've got pioneering, and then we've got other people who are kind of up and coming. One of my close friends, Stephen Evans, is doing really well. He's in the Glees and stuff like that now. Again, he can do both English and Welsh gigs, and he runs nights. The gigs of places to come around here. Sorry, shut up. Stone Circle Comedy Club. They run a few different comedy clubs, professional clubs, and they're really good, really well run evenings. They bring people in from outside of Wales, but also promote up and coming people on the Welsh scene as well. So they're very good. We've obviously got the Glee in Cardiff, which you can go to, which is kind of on that kind of professional level. There's ones in West Wales, like I mentioned, Stephen Evans. He runs the Trehale Farm gig. Literally a converted barn, but it's such a good night in the middle of a farm. And it's all, there's a stage in there, everything. It's such a lovely environment to be in. It's a great laugh. It's really good. Um, yeah, I mean, there's so many people coming through as well, and so many kind of different things. I mean, we've got Hugh Pretty McLean who's doing really well on a national level, and I think we've got other people coming through like Mel Owen is coming up, and Pryor. I think he's up there now. I can't remember the last name. But we've got loads of people like breaking through from different communities and things like that as well. So it's quite rich and versatile at the minute. And that's the nice thing about Wales is you're gigging around, you'll end up on the bill with those people as well. You can see them work and stuff like that. So it's a good learning environment too.
And and also why is London a better comedy scene than Wales? No, no, so England better. No, I'm joking.
I don't know. I mean, what I say? I don't know. I wouldn't say. I don't think I've experienced enough of the England scene, although I've gigged all over. Shut up. But even that with a song. But even that with a Welsh scene, because I haven't really gigged in North Wales that much, and that's a different place again. You know, I've done Mid Wales, South Wales, West Wales, but not really North Wales. I've gone the Midlands in England, and I've done down south, and I've done London, but not really. And Birmingham and all that. But I've not really done all over to give a good thing. I mean, the craziest gig I think I've done, or the funniest gig to me, was in a place called Birmingham with the Hollybush. You heard of the Hollybush? The whole it was an outside gig. It was just after COVID, where there was some restrictions on. So we were outside, and as I'm doing the gig, the owner of the pub is burning doors in a cast iron bath in front of me. So he's even walking. I'm talking to the audience, and he's walking past me with a door, and then just burning it in the bath in the middle of the gig. It's just nuts, you know. And everybody was just there with all this black smoke pumping out and stuff. But it was just a mad kind of environment for a brilliant pub and a brilliant audience and a good laugh. It's just a really kind of strange environment to be in. I think the pub is condemned because like there's no electricity in there. The toilets are lit by what are they? The scented candles. It's the most romantic toilet I've ever been in. You know, there's all different scented candles in there and stuff like that. And the sign for the toilet just says bog. but the audience were absolutely brilliant. And it was one of the really good gigs. And it was just, I think it was the first gig I did just after COVID, and it was lovely to do because it was such a nice, warm audience and a really supportive vibe. It was because I haven't gigged for ages. It was lovely to do. You know, really enjoyed it.
The comedy is the mad place, eh?
Yeah, I like the variation of places. Like the gig I was talking about earlier in Pontyclun, that because if anybody can come in at any point. I think my friend was emptying it for me because I was booked somewhere else. And he spent, this is in the early days of it, I think he spent a good 10-15 minutes calming the room down, getting them ready, explaining the rules, all that type of stuff. And he just got them right. And then a cricket team came in and started celebrating a match this one, and the whole room just went berserk again. Or I did it, the second gig I did in there, this old woman was waiting for a taxi with a shopping trolley full of shopping. She just sat in the corner. I was like, "You're right." She's like, "Yeah, you're for comedy." "No, love, just waiting for a taxi." I was like, "Oh, okay." And it's just so transient. You don't know what can happen, who can come in. But I enjoy it because I took that deliberately because I knew it'd be a challenge as a way of helping me, you know, because I've been on gigs before at that stage where maybe the energy of the audience wasn't very good and stuff like that. I knew that I needed to find tools to deal with that. And I've been with friends who were further down the road than me. They would just spin this set to start doing crowd work and messing about. And I didn't have the confidence at that stage. So that's why I started MCing, just to kind of develop those skills if I ever do need to just do crowd work and things like that. You can twist. Maybe sometimes, especially around here, you go to a gig and you can tell they just want to be roasted. They just want people to take the piss because they really respond to the crowd stuff. But then as soon as you do anything material, anything that's obviously pre-done, the response isn't that much, you know. I remember starting out horrible feeling like, oh, I'm just gonna get my head down and just plow through my stuff and go home and hate myself. And then the guy on after me would just call them all twats for 10, 15 minutes and they loved it. And you know? And it's things like that as well. I think that's why I like MCing now is building up those kind of skills really, and just being able to just mess about with the audience and be like in the podcast of yours I listened to earlier with the guy who was saying that, you know, you need to be happy, you need to be inviting, you need to be like someone that people want to talk to or be around. And I think didactic and stuff, and it is a different set of skills. I think not everybody can do it. I don't think I'm particularly amazing at it. I think I'm still learning at it, but certainly in the nights that I'm doing, I've got a rapport with the audience there and stuff like that, and that's really nice because I'll know I've done, or I know I'll be happy with myself when I've emceed. If I've come on and go, well, I haven't used any kind of material, I've just literally been messing about with the crowd, and it's just been enough, and everyone's had a really good night. You know, I think that's a marker. But it'd be interesting to see when I MC somewhere that I've not been before, whether I could be pulled back into doing some material again, you know, because that's you fall back, isn't it? You know, so yeah.
Now, if anyone's listening up here from Italy, Jamaica, or China, or anywhere else, like, how do they find out about you, and why should they do comedy?
Well, find about me on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the usual social media channels. My promotion, my comedy brand, if you want to call it that, it's called Laugh Easy Comedy. So I always kind of show the nights we're doing. Why should you do comedy? You should do comedy because you have to, because you want to challenge yourself, because you are a little bit of a narcissist extrovert, but maybe you just want to use that in a positive way, and because you like making people laugh and you enjoy it. You like me. I put comedy. I think comedy to me feels like being in an airport where you're going on holiday, because there's all these different people all excited about where they're going, and you keep meeting different people along the way, and everybody's going somewhere. And I love that. I love meeting people, you know, like where you gig somewhere else and you maybe meet a comic you have met before, or you do a gig with someone and you haven't gigged with them in ages. You get to catch up, and everybody's at different stages, and I like that feeling. Nothing feels stagnant. That nothing feels settled or boring. Things are constantly moving. Perhaps it's something to do with ADHD, about having things happening all the time, and that constant stimulation or that need for it. But that's the thing I really enjoy about it, is that kind of nature, that things are happening, it's exciting, things are going all the time. I think that if you like that, if you respond to that, and if you get stimulated and enthused by things moving quickly and doing things and reacting to things and things not being predictable, then definitely comedy is the definite place you want to be. So I think I look at all the things I like doing, and all the things I enjoy doing the most are things where it's an unpredictable environment. Like I do a lot of whitewater kayaking, and that's really unpredictable because you could drown at any point. You know, but I kind of enjoy it. You know, so I think that's just me. I like unpredictability and you know, the excitement of that really. I hate it when it goes wrong. I absolutely hate it when it goes wrong, but I absolutely love it when it goes right. You know, I think that's it. I think the peaks are better, are worth the trough. Is probably a good way of putting it. You know, as much as it's horrible having that 3-hour trip home and you just bombed on your ass. Oh my god! It's still the next night you have the same thing, but you have a really good night. It just erases all of that. You know, so I think that definitely. I'm not giving him attention. He's a big comedian.
Oh, brilliant. Now, And no, it's brilliant, man. Well, guys, you know about Kris. You can also find out about his dog as well. Uh, oh, I love it when family and dogs or pets come on a podcast. It adds a bit of spice to it. But yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, because my son's got his friend over. I don't know what the hell they're doing in the other room. I'm glad you can't hear it, but it's just literally screaming. So I'm glad that's not coming through.
ah,
Because kids screaming, dogs barking, it doesn't paint a good picture, does it?
it makes it entertaining, though.
Yeah.
But you know where to find out about Kris. Please leave his
Thank you.
podcast at 5-star review on Amazon or iTunes. And then the next guest is going to be a guy who seems to be getting a lot of audience members to gigs all on his own, but without any social media. They're just like friends of his. So, guys, I hope you guys listening to that, and I'll see you guys soon.